So just get yourself settled down. Get yourselves comfortable. So remember that we want to start to slow down the breath. We want to begin to control the breath. And drawing that breath down into the tummy. So a nice, slow, deep inhale down into the tummy, the abdomen rising. And then slowly exhaling, releasing and relaxing into the mat. And so just checking in on any areas of tension, checking in on any aches and pains, maybe a little bit of a wiggle into the lower back, maybe a little bit of knees to chest, or just bringing the feet onto the floor might be enough. So having the eyes gently closed, maybe moving the head from side to side. And being aware of any tension in the face, in the jaw, in the cheeks. You can always do a little yawn, a pretend yawn, just to release out the jaw. Maybe a slow movement once or twice of the head side to side, just to check into the neck. Arms out to the sides, a few inches away from the body, or hands on the tummy, whichever works for you. And as you inhale, drawing the breath down into the tummy, the abdomen rising. Just be aware of the muscles rising in the tummy. And then as you exhale, just allowing those muscles to soften. Again, a little squeeze into the buttocks and then release. Squeezing the muscles in the legs and release. A little wiggle of those toes and allow the feet to release out to the side. So just taking a little bit of time here to be quiet, to be still, to notice the movements in the body as you inhale and exhale. To notice if we've got some tension maybe already creeping in again somewhere. Remember, we sometimes have these habits of tension that we're not even aware of until we take the time to stop and just notice what's going on in the body, but also to notice what's going on in the mind. So we're going to start off today with knees to chest. So when you're ready, bringing those knees up. So it may be that you want to slide the hands into the knee pit, as I call it. So just bringing the hands there under the knees. Now, it may be that you don't need to hold those knees up at all. Maybe just taking the arms out to the sides. But if you are using the hands to hug those knees in, try to have as little amount of tension as possible in those shoulders. Constructive rest is another one that we can do as a starter for class, but I've chosen knees to chest today because it's just a great way to release the lower back. So particularly if you've had a lot of sitting down, or if you have, again, the complete opposite, being active, so quite a lot of compression into the lower back, this hugging the knees to the chest is just a really nice release into the lumbar spine. So maybe have a little roll around, side to side, front to back. Taking little circles into the lower back. Often a really nice release, and just helps to iron out that tension in the back. Remember that we hold each pose for around 3 minutes. That's so we get this release into the fascia, into the deep connective tissue. So maybe you want to hug the knees in a little bit more. Maybe you already need to release out, whatever works for you. But just be kind to your body. It's the time we hold the pose, not the intensity of the pose. So always ease off a little bit if you want to. So think about starting to come out of the pose. Begin to release down. Now we always take our time coming out of the pose because we've had that release into the fascia, into the connective tissue. So we take our time, release out. And we always take the time in between each pose called the rebound stretch. It's the after effect of the postures. It's the echo of the pose. And some are more noticeable and pronounced than others. We're going to come into a twist next, into a supine twist. So bringing your cushions to your right side. And so you can have as much support or as little as you need. Having those cushions there. We're going to keep the feet on the floor and then drop the knees to the right. Have the arms wherever's comfy, out to the sides or hands on the tummy. But just staying here for the first minute with the feet on the floor. So not only is it giving the body the time to adjust to the new shape, but it's also giving you the time just to investigate what's happening there in the body and how it feels. So it may be that it's enough for you to stay here with your feet on the floor. But we have a few options here to deepen this twist. So you can bring the knees up onto the cushions. So the cushions are doing the work. They are supporting the legs. The legs can either be slightly separate, if that works for you, or you can have one leg stacked on top of the other. So always take that time to have your little faff about to find the comfortable position that works for you. So maybe you want to bring the knees a little higher to increase stretch, to increase the intensity. Maybe you want to come into twisted roots where you cross that left leg over the right, which really does intensify that pose a lot more in the lower back. So anybody with lower back issues, don't do that. If you do it and it feels terrible, come back out. If you like it, that's great, stay there. So that left leg wraps over the right into twisted roots. And so we're here for about another minute. So nice and slowly coming out. First uncrossing those legs if they're crossed. So if you went into your twisted roots option, uncrossing the legs. If you want to just bring those legs now back down onto the floor, coming back into that neutral position, straightening the legs. So again, noticing that rebound stretch. And remember, sometimes this can be a very physical feeling. So it can be heat, it can be warmth, or it can be a bit of pressure or almost like liquid moving. For some people, it can be an emotional release. It can help trigger memories. It can also sometimes be very much a relief. It can be a energetic relief. So get ready to come to the other side. So bringing those cushions over to the left, or bolster if you've got a bolster. So to the left, feet on the floor, and drop those knees over. So again, we'll keep the feet on the floor for about the first minute. And we get the chance now to compare if this feels different on this side. So coming up if you want to, bringing those knees up onto your support. So again, just playing about with the position of the feet. So the legs are stacked or the legs slightly separate. But remember, your cushions are taking the whole of the weight of the legs. So you're not having to make any effort to keep those legs up there. Also notice if there's any tension on that outer hip. We sometimes think we've got to hold that outer leg up, but you don't. So just allow that release. Notice if any tensions crept back anywhere. Either you'll already know where that will be from your own habits, but it might be the jaw. For me, it's always the jaw or the shoulders. So again, coming into your twisted roots, if that works for you, crossing that leg. So that right leg will cross over the left. And again, it does ramp up. Oh, there we go, ramping it up. It does increase the intensity of that stretch. It's an option, you don't have to do it. It may feel great on this side, but not on the other. So begin to ease out of the twisted roots if that's where you are. Straightening those legs, bringing them back onto the floor. Comparing this rebound stretch to when you did the twist on the other side. So before we come into the next pose, I'll just tell you what we're going to do so you can mentally prepare to move, because we're going to come up into a seated forward fold. So we're going to come into our caterpillar. So if you want to start coming up, come up with as little effort as possible, bringing your support onto your knees if you need it. Okay, so caterpillar is when we have the legs straight. Now, if you're really tight in the hips or in the hamstrings, you might want to pop a cushion under the knees for a bit of support. Okay, so that's your first option. Again, remember, it's always really important to get comfy so you can get the full release into these poses. And it's quite normal that you'll look like a bag of spuds, so don't worry about that either. So then we release the body forwards, release the head forwards. You don't have to grip onto anything, so just let the hands flop. And that's your caterpillar. Okie dokie. So have a little shuffle about, get yourself comfy. The clock is a-ticking. So for some of you, you will already know that this is a pose that will really get you in the hamstrings. So that's where you can do yourself the favor with the cushion under the knees. For some of you, this will be more pronounced in the lower back. Okay, usually gets me in the lower back because my hamstrings are pretty good. If you're unlucky, you'll get it in both. But remember that we are allowing the body to release. But this is one of the poses where we can really watch the breath at work, but we are also using gravity to our advantage. So as you exhale, you can watch the body release forwards, maybe just a millimetre more. But on those exhales, just actively let the whole body release. And that includes the feet. So there's no tension in the feet at all. Now, remember that you can ease off. You can grab another cushion to prop yourself up a bit higher if you want to. If you're using cushions, you can maybe remove a cushion to go deeper into the stretch. It's totally up to you. But with this style of yoga, it is the time that brings us the benefits, not the intensity. So there's no pushing, there's no striving, there's no massive effort. That's why I really like this style of yoga, because it appeals to the lazy person in me, which I've been very open about. See, that's not a surprise to anyone. Mum, stop putting your fingers up. She's giving me the thumbs up here because she's lazy as well. Mum, you're not lazy. So we've got about another 90 seconds here, okay? Ease out if you want to. If you've got a few cushions, maybe relieving yourself of another cushion, maybe moving it out of the way. Remember, if you do that and it's not good, it doesn't work, you can bring it back. So as we just come into the last 10 seconds or so, I want you to really think about taking your time coming out of this pose. So just gently begin to start coming back up to a seated position. And then to come into your rebound stretch, I want you to put your hands behind you and support yourself to come down into that lying down position, okay? The good thing with Shavasana is you can just lie there like roadkill. Or the rebound. It's like a mini Shavasana in between each pose. But again, it's that time in between each pose where you can really be aware of where you have felt that stretch. So like I say, it could be the back of the legs are now almost crying in relief. It can be the lower back. It could be both. So the next option is a supported bridge. So grabbing your cushions. So again, depending on how deep you want this back bend, the more cushions you'll use. Okay, I've got 2, but you might want to have it 3 or even 4. Okay, if you want to have a really easy back bend, then you use less cushions. Okay, so it's when you bring yourself onto the cushions. Okay, now it may be that you can just lift the bum up, slide the cushions underneath. Okay, or you can sit on them, support yourself to lie back. It's up to you. But I want you to keep your feet on the floor for the first at least 30 seconds, okay? So again, just take the time to get settled in. Also use this time to think you want to either add another cushion because you want more height, or you want to take one out, okay? But just have that faff about. You might want to pop a cushion under your head as well at the back. Remember, we want to be nice and comfy. You might want to grab your blanket. So I've started the timer, and like I say, I want you to keep your feet on the floor for the first at least 30 seconds. So again, we're just giving the body a chance to adjust to this new shape, okay? Because again, another great thing with our yin practice, there's no rush. So it may be that this is where you're going to stay. It may be that you want to deepen the pose a little bit more. So you can play about with straightening one leg and then straightening another leg. Now, if you straighten the legs and it feels too much like a compression into the lower back, you bring the feet back to the floor, okay? So bring your feet back onto the floor. But if you're quite happy with both legs straight, then keep them straight. So if the mind is a little bit busy, again, just bring the attention back to the breath. And maybe focusing on the breath as a colour as you inhale. So inhaling that colour all the way down into the tummy. That slow control breath. And then a nice, slow, controlled exhale. And always using that exhale as an opportunity to just release the tension. So we'll take about another 30 seconds here. So if you need to come out, feet on the floor, begin to ease the support away. So if those legs are straight, bring the feet to the floor. And then pushing the feet into the floor, just lift the hips slightly, ease out the support, and then slowly release down. Just control coming out of the pose, and then straighten the legs. Feeling that rebound stretch. So when you're ready, just begin to ease up again. So we're going to do another seated forward fold, but this time you have options for the legs, okay? So we're either going to do, it's the two flies, the butterfly or the dragonfly, okay? So depending on how you feel, you can either bring the soles of the feet together, okay? Which is your butterfly. So the soles of the feet are together. You can use your supports to lean forwards. It's totally up to you. This is also really nice to give yourself a little bit of a foot massage as well. Maybe massage into the calves too. Now, if you prefer, you can straighten out the legs, okay? So coming into your dragonfly, okay? So it's a wide leg seated forward fold. And again, you can use the cushions to support yourself to lean forwards. Again, you might want to have 3 or 4. It's up to you. You can just stack them high, okay? So if you're wanting to work a bit more into the hips, into the inner thighs, then you can take your dragonfly, okay? Or butterfly is your other option, okay? So if you fancy a little bit of a foot rub, get into your butterfly. So the choice is yours. But whichever position you've decided, remember gravity is your friend here, so you can just allow the whole of the upper body to release. And so just let the head hang, let the shoulders release forwards. Again, notice if you're gripping onto anything, any supports. if you've gone for the foot rub option, which, let's face it, it's a good option, remember that based around the school of reflexology, there's different points on the foot relate to different parts of the body. So I'm always very sensitive on the left pad of my big toe, which is what corresponds to the thyroid, because I have a thyroid condition. So yeah, so I quite like a bit of reflexology. Also, if you take the massage, the thumbs up into the back of the calves, around the Achilles, often that area is very tender, particularly if you've been out walking a bit, if you've been going out for your hourly exercise every day. Well, not every day, but, you know, if you've been having a bit of a walk or a bit of a run, a bit of a trot. Or Maz, if you've been PTing like a crazy girl, you may be really sensitive in the Achilles area. So we've got about another minute here. So just tuning into the breath if you want to. So like we did with caterpillar, I want you to start thinking about coming out of the pose and taking your time. So you're going to come back to your neutral position, lying on your back. But remember that we want to support ourselves to get back down into this position, okay? So just take your time, hands behind you. Come back to lying down, that neutral position. And again, I always find that the rebound stretch here after I've done forward folds is really pronounced, particularly in my lower back. So just be aware of where that sensation is. Our next pose will be our heart opener. Again, one of my favourites. Tend to like the back bends a lot in yin. So if you are using your bolster, it will be aligned with your spine, and whatever support you are using, the support starts around where the bra strap is, okay? So just have your supports there. Now you might want an extra one to put under your head. So particularly if you are nursing anything around the neck, okay? So the support starts around the bra area. You lean back, start to feel the front of the chest, shoulder girdle there. Open up, arms out to the sides. This is when you'll then think, when the head goes back, oh, need a little support there under the head. That's fine. There we go. Job's a good one. So, again, always having that little shuffle about, checking in that you're comfy. And again, we'll just do a little body scan here to check in on any tension. So again, just with the eyes gently closed, releasing the tension in the jaw, in the cheeks. And checking in that there's no tension being created in how you're holding your arms. Even in the fingers, just allow those hands to relax. Take a slow, deep breath down into the tummy. Feel that abdomen rise. And then slowly exhale, allowing the body to release. A squeeze of the buttocks and release. Squeeze of the muscles in the legs and release. And a little wiggle into those toes. Let the feet release out to the side. So this is a great pose, again, for if you've been doing a lot of sitting at a laptop, leaning forwards, maybe cycling, maybe you're doing a lot of driving. So this is just that perfect counter pose for the upper back. Remember as well, the neck is part of the spine. So that's why it's important to have the neck supported here too. So we're going to stay here for about another 2 minutes. Just allow the body to release on every exhale. So we're into that last minute. Stay where you are if you're comfortable to do so. Ease out if you need to. So to come out of this one, I want you to ease out really slowly, okay? Now remember you're elevated slightly, so coming out to your right, put your right hand onto the floor, your right arm, support yourself to ease out. And I want you just to take a few breaths lying here on your side. And then just for a couple of minutes, we're going to take a child's pose. Now, if you've got dodgy knees or child's pose is not comfortable for you, I want you to come onto your back, bring your knees to your chest, okay? Otherwise, I want you to come onto your fronts take the bum back to the heels. Now, it may be that you want to just have your cushion there under your head. That's fine. You can take the arms back. Maybe you don't need the cushions for support, okay? So 2 minutes here in this lovely position, child's pose. Which, of course, is really a great shape for the spine. It's the primary curve of the spine, which is the shape of the spine when you're in the womb. Hence the name child's pose. Bit of yoga trivia for you there. Okay, so I've got about another minute here. So begin to ease out. So I want you to come onto your back if you're not already on your back. So if you're in your child's pose, just take your time to find your way back to that neutral position lying on your back. So we are coming into everybody's favorite pose, the banana. Now, it is my favorite pose, or one of them. Turns out my mother hates it almost as much as Lynn. So Lynn, I know you're probably getting all chippy because I've told you to do banana, but I don't have to listen, which is great. Mum, you'll have to suck it up too. So for those of you that like the banana, enjoy. Take the arms overhead. Take the feet to the bottom right corner of the mat. Take the shoulders, shuffle them over to the top right corner. And remember that you can have the arms around, cuddling around the top of your head. Those arms should be relaxed. Now, if you've got any old shoulder issues, oh, postman's just delivered the post. If you've got any shoulder issues, then bring the arm or both arms back down. It's the shape of the upper body that we want, okay? But in shuffling those feet to the bottom right corner, we're getting a nice little stretch into the outer hip as well. You can cross that left leg over the right if that works for you, okay? So banana's a great pose for anybody with any respiratory issues. So if you need to really work on opening those lungs. So particularly for the left side here, take a deep inhale, feel the rib cage, the expanse of it on the left side in particular. And allow the body to release on that exhale. So just bringing the attention to the breath, to the inhales and allowing the body to soften on the exhales. Make any adjustments, maybe taking the feet a little bit further over if that works for you. Maybe shuffling the shoulders a bit further over if you want to. So begin to ease out. So bring the arms down. Straighten the upper body. Straighten the legs. Maybe just wrapping the arms around the front, hugging the front of your body, just for a little reset. Taking a few breaths before we come to the other side. So begin to come to the other side. So taking the feet to the bottom left corner, arms overhead. Shuffling the shoulders over to the top left corner. So check in, is it easier for you on this side? So the arms should be comfortably resting behind you, on the floor behind you. But again, if it's pulling, bring the arm or both arms back down. You can cross that right leg over the left, but again, it might not work on this side. We tend to be different on one side compared to the other. It's how we're built. So just settle in here. And just notice where the sensations are beginning to appear. And it may be exactly where you expect. So if you want to, maybe taking the feet a bit further over, shuffling a little bit further over, shuffling the shoulders a little bit further over if that works for you. Okay, so just begin to ease out. So begin to bring the arms back down to straighten the legs. Maybe again that little hug of the body for a little reset into the shoulders. And just taking a few breaths. Just feeling that last rebound stretch. And so for those of you that need to finish at 1 on the hour, that time is now. For those of you that are staying for the Yoga Nidra, it'll be about 15 or 20 minutes. And it's something that I trained in quite a long time ago. It translates as conscious sleep, and it's lovely. It's really a deep relaxation, and it's the closest form of hypnosis really that you get without having to have a license to practice. Okay, but it's a very similar technique to hypnosis. So there's quite a bit of science behind it as well. It's a really interesting subject. But the main reason for doing it is to have that deep relaxation, and where we switch off all of the senses apart from the sense of hearing, because obviously you can hear me. So just to get yourself settled in, do anything you need to do to make yourself a bit more comfy. So eye pillows are great as well, cushion under your head, blanket because you'll cool down. If you've not already got your blanket handy. So, welcome to your Yoga Nidra. And as with Yin, we do have quite a lot of focus on the breath. Particularly for this Yoga Nidra, it's a Himalayan Yoga Nidra. There's different schools, like you get different schools of yoga. So this is a Himalayan Yoga Nidra. So I want you to start to just settle into the breath, to be aware of the breath as you inhale, feeling the body. Just be aware of the release as you exhale, as the breath leaves the body. So just breathing effortlessly, almost watching the breath as you inhale and watching the breath as you exhale. Just welcoming the breath and the spaces in between the breath. Hearing the sounds of the breath as you inhale. And hearing the sounds of the breath as you exhale. And if there's any other noises around you, just welcome those noises as comfort and as almost as little signals of home and safety. As you inhale, just welcome well-being into your body. As you exhale, let go of anything that you just need to let go of. Notice any movements accompanying the breath of the tummy rising and falling. The lungs filling and then emptying. Just letting the tide of the breath move effortlessly through the body. And then bringing your awareness to the top of the head. Slowly sweeping that awareness all the way down the body to the soles of the feet. And then back up the legs, the spine, and all the way back up to the top of the head. Just witnessing the effortless way that the body is breathing itself. And then bringing the attention to the space between the eyebrows, deep inside the middle of the head, and let the attention settle in the form of a little star, right in the center of the head. So there's that little star shining. And let the breath flow to the points of the star. And then bringing the attention to the collarbones, the space between the collarbones, and placing a little star there. And then bringing the awareness to the right shoulder. Placing a star there. And a little star to the elbow. And another onto the wrist. And then on the tip of each finger and thumb on the right hand, just placing a star, 5 little stars there on the right hand. And then bringing the attention back to the wrist, to the elbow, to the right shoulder, and back to the space between the 2 collarbones. And just be aware of the constellation of stars all the way down the right side of the arm. And then placing a star on the left shoulder. Another on the elbow and on the wrist. And then on the left hand, the thumb and the fingers, placing the stars there. So there's 5 shining stars on that left hand. And then bringing the attention back to the star on the wrist, on the elbow, the shoulder, and coming back to that luminous star shining in between the collarbones. And then bringing the attention to the heart center, to the space in the middle of the chest, and placing a star there. And then a star on the right breast, a star on the left breast, a star on the tummy, another star on the pelvis, a star on the right hip, and another on the knee, another on the ankle, and another onto the tip of the big toe on that right foot. The second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, to all 5 toes on that right foot, those shining little stars. And then bringing the attention back to the ankle, to the knee, to the hip, back to the star in the center of the pelvis. And then to the left hip, placing a little star there on the left hip. Another on the knee, another on the ankle, and then a star on the tip of the left big toe. The second toe, the third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, all 5 toes twinkling with little bright shining stars. And then coming back to the ankle, to the knee, to the hip, to the space at the center of the pelvis. And just being aware of all of the shining stars on all of the lower part of the body. And then bringing the attention back to the tummy, the heart center, the space between the collarbones. And higher still, to the space between the eyebrows. Just being aware of the light and the energy from every single shining bright star on each point of the body. And being aware of each star with each breath. And then bringing the focus to the movements of the breath, starting from the eyebrow center. Exhaling all the way down to the toes. And inhale back to the eyebrow center. Just taking a few more breaths here. Exhaling down to the toes. And inhaling back to the eyebrow center. And then from the eyebrow center, exhaling down to the knees. Inhaling back up to the eyebrow center. A few more breaths here. Exhaling down to the knees. Inhaling back up. And from the eyebrow center, exhaling to the star in the center of the pelvis. And inhaling back up to the eyebrow center. A few breaths here, exhaling to the pelvis. Inhaling back up to the eyebrow center. And exhaling from the eyebrow center to the heart space, to the little star that you placed in the center of the chest, into the heart space, and inhaling back up to the eyebrow center, exhaling down to the heart, inhaling back up. Then from the eyebrow center, exhaling to that little star placed between the collarbones. So just at the base of the throat. Inhaling back up to the eyebrow center. Exhaling down to the center, in between the collarbones, that space there where that little heart, even the little star, is resting. Inhaling back up. So just a few more breaths here. And then letting go of all directive movements of the breath. Just being aware of the natural tide of the breath. And then nice and slowly, I want you to roll onto your left side. So just taking your time, slowly shifting onto the left side of the body. And so it will feel like it is the right side of the body that is breathing. Just rest in the arms wherever they are comfy. And just take a few breaths here. Breathing just with the right side of the body. And then not disturbing yourself too much. Slowly begin to roll over onto the right side of the body. Taking your time, shifting over, get comfy on the right side, arms wherever they're comfortable. But being aware of the left side of the body, and it's the left side of the body that's now breathing. And just taking a few breaths here using the left side of the body. And moving on to your back again. And just allowing the attention to settle back into the space between the collarbones. And now that space between the collarbones, just allow there to be a bright full moon. So visualizing that bright full moon. The space between the collarbones. And then bringing your attention to the heart space. Now, no mantra, no words, no image. Just taking a few breaths into the heart space, the center of the chest. And then bringing the attention back to the breath. Allow the breath to become louder. And be more aware of the movements of the body as you breathe. Maybe being aware of sounds inside the home. Maybe being aware of any sounds outside. Just using these sounds as a bridge back to awareness. And then slowly begin to bring the awareness to the hands and bring in the palms of the hands together. Rub the palms together, getting a bit of heat there. And then bringing those palms up to the eyes and just covering the eyes with the palms. Eyes still closed, and then just start to tap the forehead with the fingers. Tapping into the temples, maybe slowly closing the eyes. Tapping the cheeks. Tapping the chin. And then opening the eyes fully, maybe taking the arms overhead, full body stretch, whatever you want to do. And that is the end of our Yoga Nidra. And it's the end of our session. So thank you very much. Obviously, if you just want to lie there, that's fine. Thank you, everybody. Namaste. I will unmute you all so we can say goodbye. Unmute. Gallery view. Wavy, wavy. Thank you very much.
That was just what I needed.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, that was was wonderful. Thank you, Claudia.
Well,
Thanks, Mary. Thank you very much. So nice to see you. I'm back here on Monday for a bit more movement if anybody's keen. If not, have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.